next one, we'll see if we differ on this one, because Donnie kind of likes the upset in this one. Number 1, Ohio State at Washington, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS. Ohio State beginning their Big Ten slate with this game, their first road game of the season against an undefeated Washington squad. The defending national champs, Ohio State, coming off a bye week. They are 3-0 after beating previous number 1 Texas, Grambling State, and Ohio. The Huskies, meanwhile, have beaten Colorado State, UC Davis, and Washington State for their own 3-0 start. And Dalton, you actually told me this pre-show, which I thought was crazy. Washington has not lost a true home game since the end of the 2021 season. 4 years ago was the last time Washington lost a home game. Now they're playing the number 1 team in the country.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It makes for an interesting dynamic, right? You got a streak that they've had now for 3 straight seasons plus this year of just not losing at Husky Stadium. They're feeling it. It gets loud in that place. They've had exciting offenses. They have another exciting offense this year with DeMond Williams and company. This Washington team going in there, this is not an easy road trip to Seattle for Ohio State.
All right. Well, tell me more about the Ohio State offense against Washington's defense with a guy in Julian saying that you texted me about 2 o'clock in the morning last night saying, dude, this guy is legit.
I think he is legit. I mean, you look at Julian Sayin, and we last talked about this Ohio State team after their win over Texas, and it was, well, the defense won the day, and Caleb Downs in the secondary, and Sayin was good enough. He didn't screw it up, right? So you kind of come out of that game feeling, okay, he's got this loaded group of receivers. They're still working on the running game. Maybe Bo Jackson in the backfield. Of course, that's a name that everybody wants to hear in your backfield, right? Maybe Bo Jackson in the backfield, C.J. Donaldson, the running game's getting going, but it's really been just the last 2 weeks. Julian Sayin getting fantastic reps in as obviously the starting quarterback and coming off a more conservative game in Texas. Now he's starting to sling it downfield. And I think when you look at what Julian Sayin's doing right now, especially to me, his command of the middle of the field has just been outstanding. When he's throwing between the numbers, he's got a 93 passing grade, max 89.5 completion percentage, 11.5 yards per attempt. Julian Sayin just has this precise, surgical way of going about his business. And Max, right now, if you look at our quarterback charting, he is easily the most accurate quarterback. We chart ball placement on every throw for all of these guys. He's easily the most accurate quarterback in college football. 82.3% of his throws we've charted as accurate. That's 9 points better than anybody else in college football. The next closest is Haynes King for Georgia Tech. He is by far right now the most accurate quarterback. Now, again, he's played Texas, and that was a conservative game plan. He's played Ohio and an FCS team, and Ohio's still a pretty good team, but he is just so darn precise and accurate, and he gives his receivers chances to win. He just does not throw the ball outside of anybody's frame. I just love the way that Julian Sayin's playing right now. Now, this is a big test. Washington is a heavy man coverage team. There could be some tighter windows. They're a solid coverage team from back to front. But, man, Sayin, he looks so poised. And the only thing I would say for him, the one thing I think he needs to work on is they just got to work on red zone execution a little bit. But between the 20s, I'll be honest with you, there have not been very many quarterbacks, if any, better than Julian Sayin so far.
I know it's a lofty comparison considering he's a top 10 quarterback of all time, but didn't you tell me that you see a little Drew Brees in his game?
His mechanics are so clean and so consistent, and he releases that ball out in front of him, kind of like Brees used to. That's the reason it's almost like he just, especially on like in the box, in that 20-yard box and over the middle of the field, sometimes it looks like he just walks the football to his receivers. He's so darn accurate. It's that style where it's just, he's certainly not a supreme athlete. He's not going to work out of structure a whole lot, but his rhythm and his accuracy from the pocket, I think absolutely there's something to that. And I think of almost any quarterback in the country, he may have the most, just his delivery, he may have the most consistent mechanics out of anybody.
Well, in a year where so many former 5-star quarterbacks have disappointed, Julian Sayin has not. He has lived up to the hype. Right now. Another guy, I believe from the same recruiting class, Dalton, who's also played really well, is DeMond Williams, the quarterback at Washington. Really, can the Buckeyes contain one of the most electric backfields in college football is my matchup to watch. Washington right now has the most efficient offense in the country in terms of EPA per play at 0.494. They are second in EPA per pass, but the identity of this offense comes from its run game. They're second also in EPA per run. They lead the Power 4 with a 92.1 rushing grade this year, and they're fourth in the country with an 80, or fifth in the country, with an 80.1 run blocking grade this year. Jonah Coleman, the guy right there on the left, entered the year as a top 5 running back in the country for us, and he's 7th in the country right now with an 88.8 PFF grade, 7th in the Power 4 with 261 yards after contact, and also 2nd in the Power 4 with 150 receiving yards, too. Damon Williams Jr., 6th among all quarterbacks in the country with an 83.1 rushing grade and 13 explosive runs at quarterback, tied for 3rd in the country as well. But Ohio State has an excellent run defense once again. Right now, 17th in the country with a 91.1 rushing grade, and they're 10th in yards before contact per attempt allowed at only 0.6. They've done an outstanding job with their run fits this year. They also have yet to allow a quarterback to run for 40 yards on them, and they faced some very mobile signal callers like Parker Navarro from Ohio and Arch Manning from Texas.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think anytime you look at when you have this kind of dual threat backfield with such a dynamic player at quarterback and the read option element that Washington can give you, and look, Jonah Coleman's an extremely physical and dangerous runner too. The guys I always look at, I say this all the time with certain other teams, you look at the linebackers, and I think the two guys that are very key for Ohio State in this game are going to be Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese, especially when it comes to scraping over the top and making sure Williams does not break contain. If Damon Williams breaks contain, it's that diminutive, athletic Kyler Murray kind of style quarterback where he can make dynamic plays with his legs at any time. I think those are the two guys I'm looking for in Ohio State's defense, Reese and Styles, and they've both been fantastic so far. They're going to have to be that again, because if Washington can get their run game going, it's going to be a serious problem. It's not just that they're physical, they're explosive, both of those guys, Coleman and Williams.
Definitely. So in a game, Dalton, where Washington is hosting the number 1 team in the country, but they have not lost a home game since 2021, will that streak continue with a massive upset, or will Ohio State show why they're the number 1 team in the country?
I do think Washington's run game can give Ohio State some problems with those two guys in the backfield, and that's what would have to carry Washington through an upset. The problem is I do think Ohio State's secondary still has, I think it's arguably the best secondary in the country. I think Caleb Downs is going to be a real problem. Damon Williams is going to have to know where he is at all times, and to contain Denzel Boston and these guys Washington has on the outside, I still think Ohio State has an advantage there. So if Washington doesn't grind this game down with the run game and get ahead early, I still think Ohio State's at the advantage. I love the way that Julian Sain's playing. They're putting the run game together as they're going, and what we get Jeremiah Smith against Takario Davis, don't we?
Oh, love that.
What a fun matchup that is, and Washington plays a lot of man coverage. So I do think Ohio State is just the better football team. This could be a lot of fun, especially if we get in a shootout and Washington can get both dimensions of their offense going, but I'm going to take Ohio State 31-20.
I have Ohio State 38-24. I think Washington's defense has shown some issues through 3 games so far, even though it has not faced a Power 4 opponent yet. Now you're going up against Jeremiah Smith, the most accurate quarterback in the country, and Julian Sain, and the Ohio State Buckeyes too. I think they will expose those weaknesses in this game and slow down the Washington ground game just enough for Ohio State to come out with the victory. So I think the home win streak will end for the Huskies, and the Buckeyes will win 38-24.